The moment my marriage died, the room was full of applause. Hundreds of people stood beneath crystal lights, raising glasses toward my wife. Victoria Carter stood on a stage built for winners. Confident, perfect, untouchable, the kind of woman magazines called inspiring. The kind of woman I once called my best friend. I stood near the back of the ballroom, watching her smile at everyone except me. The giant screen behind her displayed the company's newest achievement. Another record year, another major acquisition, another victory. Everyone cheered. Victoria accepted it all with calm grace. Tonight belongs to every person who helped make this possible. More applause. She thanked department heads, board members, investors, senior managers. Then her eyes moved toward Lucas Reed. A warm smile touched her face. A smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. And of course, Lucas. None of this happens without your support. The crowd erupted again. Lucas lifted his glass. Victoria lifted hers back. I waited. Maybe she would mention me. Maybe after everything. The late nights. The sacrifices. The years when we had almost nothing. The years before anyone knew her name. Maybe she would remember. The speech ended. The applause continued. My name never came. A strange numbness settled over me. Not anger. Not shock. Just a quiet understanding. I wasn't part of her success story anymore. A waiter passed by with champagne. I grabbed a glass I didn't want. Nearby, two guests spoke casually. Victoria and Lucas make a great team. They really do. The woman laughed. Honestly, I thought they were married. The man nodded. I did too. Neither of them noticed me standing 3 feet away. I stared into my drink. A year ago, those words would have upset me. Tonight, they just hurt. Because the worst part wasn't what strangers believed. The worst part was knowing Victoria wouldn't even notice. Across the room, Lucas leaned closer to her. She smiled. Another executive joined them. More laughter. More conversation. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No message. No glance. Nothing. An hour later, I finally approached her. She was already answering emails while speaking with investors. Multitasking. Always multitasking. Victoria. Her eyes lifted briefly. Oh, hey. Not Ethan. Not husband. Not even a smile. Just hey. You did great tonight. Thanks. Her attention dropped back to the phone. Her fingers moved across the screen. Email after email. I waited. Maybe she would remember. Instead, she stepped around me. Excuse me. I need to send this before midnight. Then she was gone again. I stood there feeling ridiculous. Like a guest at someone else's celebration. By the time I got home, it was almost 11. The city lights shined through the apartment windows. Our penthouse looked exactly the way expensive loneliness should look. Beautiful. Cold. Empty. I walked into the dining room and stopped. The dinner I had prepared before leaving for the event was still sitting on the table. Candles burned low. The food had gone cold hours ago. My anniversary gift sat beside her plate. Unopened. Untouched. Today marked 8 years of marriage. Victoria hadn't mentioned it once. Not at breakfast. Not during the event. Not now. She walked past the table without slowing down. Her heels clicked against the floor, straight toward her office. I followed. Victoria. She was already opening her laptop. Do you know what today is? The question finally pulled her attention away. A small crease appeared between her eyebrows. For a second, she searched her memory. Then her face changed. Oh, that single word hit harder than any insult. Oh, she forgot. Completely forgot. I'm sorry. Her voice sounded sincere, but distracted, like someone apologizing for arriving late to a meeting. It's been busy. Busy. The answer for everything. I glanced toward the dining room. The dinner's cold. I know. We were supposed to celebrate. Another email notification appeared. Her eyes immediately shifted toward the screen. The conversation was already losing. The laptop was winning. Again. I'm sorry, Ethan. It was that word again. Sorry. A bandage placed over a wound that never healed. I walked back into the dining room. A few seconds later, she followed. Not because she wanted to, because she knew she should. The candles flickered weakly between us. Neither of us touched the food. My gaze drifted toward a shelf across the room. Dozens of awards lined the wall. Trophies, certificates, photographs from business events. Behind them, almost hidden from sight, sat our wedding picture, partially covered, like an old memory nobody needed anymore. Victoria followed my gaze. Her shoulders stiffened slightly. Neither of us spoke. The silence felt heavier than any argument. Finally, she exhaled, slowly, carefully, like someone preparing to deliver difficult news. Ethan, something inside me already knew. I leaned back in my chair, waiting, her fingers folded together. Professional, controlled, the same posture she used during negotiations. We need to talk. I almost laughed. Those 4 words never brought anything good. We've been needing to talk for a long time. She lowered her eyes, only for a second. Then the CEO returned. The confident woman, the woman who always had a plan. My life is changing. I nodded once. I can see that. No, she stopped, searching for the right words, or maybe the least painful ones. The future I'm building doesn't look the way it used to. The room suddenly felt smaller. The cold dinner, the forgotten anniversary, the hidden wedding photo. Every piece clicked into place. Just say it. Victoria stared at the table, then toward the city lights beyond the windows. Anywhere except me. I don't think this marriage works anymore. The sentence landed softly. No shouting, no tears, no drama, just quiet destruction. I sat very still, waiting for more, waiting for a reason. Another person, a secret, something. Instead, she simply continued. I've changed. That's true. And I don't want to keep pretending. Pretending. The word echoed in my head. 8 years together, reduced to pretending. Is there someone else? She shook her head immediately. No. For the first time all evening, her answer came without hesitation. There isn't. I believed her. That wasn't the problem. The truth was somehow worse. She wasn't choosing another man. She was choosing ambition, success, work, a future where I no longer fit. It's over. The words came out calm, clean, efficient, like ending a contract, a meeting, a project, not a marriage. I stared at her, waiting for regret, doubt, anything. But Victoria only looked tired, as if making this decision had cleared space in her schedule. Eventually she stood. I think we should get some sleep. Then she walked away. Just like that. Hours later, the apartment was dark. Victoria slept in our bedroom. I sat alone at the dining table. The cold dinner remained untouched. The candles had burned out. The anniversary gift stayed unopened. Slowly, I pulled off my wedding ring. 8 years. Reduced to a circle of metal resting in my palm. I placed it beside her plate. Then I sat there for a long time, not crying, not angry, just empty. When morning came, Victoria was still asleep. I carried one suitcase to the door, then another. I paused once, only once, waiting for a reason to stay. The apartment stayed silent. So I walked out, and this time I didn't look back. The hardest part wasn't leaving. The hardest part was not turning around. My hand stayed on the steering wheel as the city disappeared behind me. One red light, one turn, one decision. That was all it took to walk away from 8 years of marriage. The apartment I rented wasn't impressive. 1 bedroom, 1 small kitchen, a narrow balcony overlooking a parking lot. No skyline, no luxury furniture, no awards hanging on walls. Just space. Space that belonged to me. The suitcase sat beside the bed for 3 days before I unpacked it. Part of me still felt like a visitor, like someone waiting to be called home. But no call came. Not on the first day, not on the second, not on the third. By the end of the week, I finally understood. Victoria wasn't waiting for me either. I opened my closet and started hanging shirts. A simple task. Yet every hanger felt like another step away from my old life. My phone buzzed. Daniel. I stared at the screen before answering. You alive? A weak laugh escaped me. Barely. Good. That's your version of support? Absolutely. His voice softened. You eat today? Coffee counts. No. It should. It doesn't. I smiled despite myself. Daniel always had a talent for dragging me back to reality. You can sit around feeling miserable for a month. A pause. Then what? I didn't have an answer. Exactly. His chair creaked on the other end. You're 34, Ethan. Not dead. Feels close. Stop that. The words landed harder than expected. You spent years building her dreams. Another pause. What happens if you build one of your own? The question stayed with me long after the call ended, because I didn't know. For so long, my plans had revolved around Victoria, her meetings, her schedule, her goals. Somewhere along the way, I stopped asking what I wanted. 2 days later, Rachel Bennett walked into my apartment, carrying coffee and enough confidence for both of us. She glanced around. Small. Thanks. But clean. Thank you. And depressing. There it is. Rachel laughed. The sound felt refreshing. Normal. Human. Not polished like a boardroom conversation. She dropped into a chair. You still know software development? I think so. Think so. I haven't touched serious projects in years. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You built 3 startup systems before turning 30. I also spent the last 6 years helping Victoria. And now you're helping yourself. She slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Several project proposals stared back at me. Consulting work, development contracts, business partnerships, opportunities, real opportunities. My fingers paused on the pages. I don't know. Rachel leaned forward. That's fear talking. Maybe she was right, because excitement and fear often felt the same. Back at the penthouse, life was beginning to change too. Not because I saw it, because I heard about it. People talked. Friends talked. Employees talked. The world always talked. Victoria apparently returned home 3 nights in a row after work, each time expecting peace, each time finding something else. Absence. One evening she opened the closet. My side was empty. No jackets, no shoes, no watch collection, nothing, just blank space. The kind of emptiness you couldn't ignore. A week later, she reportedly searched for an important document, a tax file, something needed urgently. For years, I handled things like that, organized them, stored them, prepared them. She spent nearly an hour searching before realizing she didn't know where half her records were. Another week passed. The small inconveniences multiplied. Appointments, house maintenance, family reminders, travel schedules, birthdays, the invisible pieces of life, the things nobody notices until they're gone. Then came the emergency contact update. I learned about it through Daniel, whose friend worked with Victoria's company. Apparently, she was reviewing company records, routine paperwork, nothing special, until she noticed her emergency contact information had changed. My number was gone. Removed, because I had deleted hers first. No anger, no message, no announcement, just gone. The realization hit harder than expected. For years, if something happened to her, they would call me. Now they wouldn't. The connection had officially been cut. Meanwhile, I buried myself in work. The projects Rachel brought kept growing. 1 client became 2. 2 became 4. Days became busy, productive, useful. The pain didn't disappear. It just stopped controlling every hour. Then something unexpected happened. I started enjoying myself. One afternoon, Rachel stopped by again, this time carrying contracts. Real contracts. She placed them on the table. A grin spread across her face. Congratulations. For what? You're turning down projects. I blinked. What? You're busy enough to reject work. The reality sank in slowly. Months ago, my entire life depended on Victoria's success. Now, people wanted my expertise, my skills, my ideas, not because of her, because of me. That realization felt strange and powerful. Across the city, Victoria's world seemed to be moving in the opposite direction. Lucas was becoming impossible to ignore. At first, she apparently appreciated his support. Then she started noticing things, little things. Interruptions during meetings, decisions made without approval, conversations held behind closed doors, suggestions that sounded more like instructions. The man she trusted was becoming comfortable. Too comfortable. One evening, I received an unexpected text. Unknown number. 3 words. How are you? No name. No explanation. I stared at the message. The number looked familiar. Victoria. She had probably borrowed another phone after realizing hers was blocked. My thumb hovered over the screen. A month ago, I would have answered immediately. Now I simply locked the phone. The message remained unanswered. Hours later, another arrived. Hope you're okay. I deleted it. Not because I hated her, because every conversation would pull me backward, and I had finally started moving forward. Days passed, then weeks. Work expanded. Confidence returned. Life slowly rebuilt itself. One morning, Daniel called. His voice sounded unusually serious. Have you seen the news? No. You should. I opened my laptop. Business headlines filled the screen. At the center of every article sat Victoria's company. Stock prices falling. Investors questioning leadership. A major project facing unexpected problems. I stared at the reports. The company had survived worse. But something felt different. The pressure was growing. Fast. That evening I imagined Victoria sitting alone in her office, surrounded by screens, deadlines, problems, stress, the same way she had done 1,000 times before. Except this time nobody was waiting at home. Nobody was organizing the pieces she ignored. Nobody was answering late-night panic calls. Nobody was making sure she remembered to eat. The thought hurt more than I expected. Not because I wanted her back, because I still cared. And caring was the part one couldn't switch off. Near midnight, my phone lit up. One missed call, then another, then another. The number belonged to Victoria. I stared at the screen, confused. She shouldn't have been able to call. Then I remembered. Work phone, different number. The ringing stopped. A voicemail notification appeared. I didn't open it. A minute later, another call came. Then another. Then silence. The next morning, business news exploded. A major presentation had gone badly. Investors had publicly challenged company leadership. The footage spread everywhere. Victoria stood before a room full of executives while questions attacked from every direction. For the first time in years, she looked uncertain, cornered, human. The article mentioned one final detail. Immediately after the meeting, she attempted to contact someone. Several times. The calls never connected, because the number she reached for no longer existed in her world. Blocked, deleted, gone. And somewhere across the city, Victoria Carter finally discovered what losing me actually felt like. The email arrived at 6:17 in the morning. No greeting, no explanation, just one sentence from Rachel. You need to see this. Attached below were 6 documents. I opened the first one while my coffee cooled beside me. 5 minutes later, I wasn't touching the coffee anymore. I was staring at my screen, reading the same names over and over. Lucas Reed, Lucas Reed, Lucas Reed. Every page somehow led back to him. My pulse slowed instead of speeding up. That usually happened when something was very wrong. The more dangerous a situation became, the calmer I got. I picked up my phone. Rachel answered immediately. You saw it. I'm looking at it now. A long pause, then a careful breath. I wasn't sure at first. Sure about what? The pattern. My eyes moved through another report. Canceled meetings. Rescheduled appointments. Executive changes. Missing communication chains. Nothing dramatic by itself. Together, they told a different story. You think he planned this? Rachel leaned back in her chair. I could almost hear it. I think Lucas has been steering things for years. The room suddenly felt smaller. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying Victoria wasn't isolated by accident. The words settled heavily. Rachel continued. Every time someone challenged Lucas, they disappeared from important projects. Another document opened. Another name. Another example. Another coincidence that no longer looked like coincidence. He encouraged her work obsession. Victoria didn't need help with that. No. Rachel's voice softened. But he definitely benefited from it. I stared out the apartment window. Cars moved below. People walked to work. The world kept going. Meanwhile, my entire understanding of the last few years was beginning to shift. Because I had always blamed one person. Victoria. Maybe she deserved some blame. A lot of blame. But maybe she wasn't the only problem. Rachel broke the silence. There's something else. The way she said it made me sit straighter. What? Lucas never replaced you. My jaw tightened. I know. No. Papers rustled on her end. What I mean is, he never became what you were. The statement confused me. Rachel exhaled. He didn't want Victoria? What? He wanted influence. My eyes narrowed. You're sure? Look at the reports. I did. Again. And suddenly the pieces started fitting together. Lucas wasn't chasing a relationship. He was chasing access, power, control. Victoria's trust gave him both. The realization hit harder than expected. For months, I had imagined something romantic between them. Maybe not physical, but emotional. Now I wasn't so sure. After the call ended, I sat alone for a long time. The anger I'd been carrying suddenly felt different, less sharp, more complicated, because another truth had quietly appeared. Victoria never cheated on me. Not physically, not emotionally in the way I had feared. The betrayal came from somewhere else. Neglect, blindness, taking me for granted. She hadn't chosen another man. She had chosen everything except me. And somehow that hurt even more. 3 days later, another surprise arrived. Margaret Hayes requested a meeting. Victoria's mentor, board chair, one of the few people powerful enough to challenge her. I almost declined. Then curiosity won. Margaret greeted me at a quiet restaurant downtown. She looked tired, older than I remembered. Concern rested behind her eyes. "You look better." That's a nice way of saying I looked terrible before. A faint smile appeared. "You did." Coffee arrived. Neither of us touched it. Finally, she folded her hands. "Victoria is struggling." The statement didn't bring satisfaction, just exhaustion. I figured. You know what surprises her most? I waited. Margaret glanced toward the window. "She thought you'd come back." A bitter laugh escaped me. After she ended the marriage? She never believed you'd actually leave. That hurt in a way I hadn't expected. Because it sounded true. Victoria always believed I would stay. No matter what. No matter how little attention she gave me. No matter how lonely things became. I was permanent. Guaranteed. A fixture in her life. Like furniture. Like electricity. Something she didn't appreciate until it disappeared. Margaret reached into her purse. A small envelope slid across the table. "What's this?" "Take a look." Inside sat several photographs. Not recent ones. Old ones. Years old. My throat tightened. There was a picture of Victoria asleep on my shoulder during a train ride. Another from our first apartment. Another from our wedding. The edges had faded slightly. These weren't company photos. These weren't public images. These were personal. Important. What am I looking at? Margaret's expression softened. Things she found. I frowned. Found where? The storage room. My confusion deepened. Margaret continued. She started cleaning. That sounded impossible. Victoria hated cleaning. She hired people for that. Apparently, she found several boxes. My fingers tightened around the photos. What kind of boxes? Letters. My heartbeat slowed. Letters. Old letters. Handwritten notes. The kind I used to leave everywhere. Lunch bags. Jackets. Suit pockets. Briefcases. Little reminders. Little pieces of affection. Back when we still felt like a team. Margaret nodded. She read all of them. I stared down at the photographs. A strange ache settled inside me. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just sadness. Because I knew exactly what she had discovered. Years of moments she never truly noticed. Years of effort. Years of quiet love. Margaret wasn't finished. There was more. The next words arrived gently. A wedding album. My eyes closed briefly. The album. I hadn't seen it in years. Neither had Victoria. Covered in dust. Those 3 words hurt more than they should have. A marriage forgotten long before it ended. Margaret studied me carefully. She spent nearly 2 hours looking through it. I swallowed. Said nothing. Because there wasn't much left to say. A week later, Rachel arrived at my apartment carrying a laptop. This time her expression wasn't thoughtful. It was worried. Very worried. She set the laptop on the table. "You need to see this now." The screen displayed financial records, executive communications, internal reports. My stomach dropped. "What is this?" Rachel pointed toward several highlighted sections. "Lucas." Again. Always Lucas. I leaned closer. Numbers. Transfers. Hidden approvals. Private meetings. Board communications Victoria apparently never saw. A cold feeling spread through my body. This wasn't office politics anymore. This was something bigger. Much bigger. Rachel's voice lowered. "I think he's making a move." "Against who?" Her eyes locked onto mine. "You already know." I did. Victoria. The company. Everything she spent years building. Every sacrifice. Every late night. Every success. All of it. The evidence continued for pages. The deeper I dug, the worse it became. Lucas wasn't supporting her. He was positioning himself, preparing, waiting. The realization finally hit with full force. If these documents were real, Victoria wasn't facing a setback. She was walking toward a disaster she couldn't even see. Rachel closed the laptop. The room suddenly felt very quiet. You have a choice now. I knew. Walk away. Let fate handle it. Let Lucas destroy everything. Or step in. Protect the woman who broke my heart. Neither option felt good. Neither felt fair. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside, my eyes returned to the final document. One board meeting, one upcoming vote, one carefully hidden plan. And sitting at the center of it all was proof that made my blood run cold. Lucas Reed was preparing a betrayal that could destroy Victoria's entire empire. The board meeting started at 9. By 9:15, Victoria's empire was already burning. I stood outside the building, staring through the glass entrance. People rushed past me carrying tablets and folders. Executives, investors, lawyers. Most of them had no idea what was happening upstairs. But I did. My phone vibrated. Rachel, you're still outside, aren't you? Maybe. A frustrated breath came through the speaker. Ethan, if you're going to do this, do it now. My eyes drifted toward the elevator, toward the room where Victoria was fighting for everything she had built. I'm thinking, no. Rachel's voice hardened. You're hesitating. She wasn't wrong. Part of me wanted to walk away. Part of me wanted Lucas to succeed. Not because Victoria deserved it, because pain changes people, and some wounds quietly ask for revenge. Rachel seemed to read my thoughts. If Lucas wins, what happens? I already knew. The company collapses. Hundreds of employees suffer. Investors lose confidence. Years of work disappear. And if Victoria loses? My grip tightened around the phone. Rachel didn't wait for an answer. Whatever happened between you two, this isn't about your marriage anymore. The call ended. I stood there another 10 seconds. Then I walked inside. The boardroom doors were closed when I arrived. Raised voices leaked through the walls. Not shouting. Something worse. Professional destruction. Margaret Hayes spotted me first. Relief flashed across her face. Thank God. Am I late? Her expression answered the question. Very late. She pushed the door open. Every head turned. The room froze, including Victoria. For a moment, nobody spoke. The last time she had seen me was through missed calls and unanswered messages. Now I was standing in the middle of the biggest crisis of her career. Her eyes widened slightly. Not because I was there, because I had chosen to come. Lucas recovered first. A polished smile appeared immediately. Ethan. His tone sounded friendly. Too friendly. The kind of smile people wear when they're hiding a knife. What brings you here? I placed a folder on the conference table. Evidence. The room became very quiet. Lucas leaned back. Still confident. Still comfortable. Evidence of what? I opened the folder. Several documents slid across the table. Financial reports. Communication records. Approval chains. Private agreements. The confidence disappeared from his face one page at a time. Margaret picked up the first document. Then the second. Then the third. Questions started immediately. Hard questions. Dangerous questions. Lucas tried answering. At first. Then the answers became weaker. More defensive. More desperate. Victoria hadn't spoken yet. She sat completely still, watching everything unfold, watching the truth reveal itself piece by piece. One board member pushed a document across the table. Explain this. Lucas cleared his throat. Another executive leaned forward. And this. A third voice joined. What about these transfers? The room shifted rapidly. Power changing direction. Pressure changing targets. The hunter becoming the hunted. Lucas glanced toward Victoria, maybe expecting support, maybe expecting protection. What he found instead was disappointment. Cold, sharp, absolute. The same expression she once used against competitors. Now was aimed at him. Minutes later, the collapse was complete. Years of manipulation, years of influence, years of hidden moves. Gone. Destroyed by facts. Destroyed by evidence. Destroyed by his own greed. Security escorted him out before noon. The board remained behind, stunned. exhausted, relieved. The company survived. Barely. When the meeting finally ended, people slowly filtered out, one by one, until only two of us remained. Victoria stood near the windows overlooking the city. Neither of us moved. The distance between us felt larger than the entire room. Finally, she spoke. "You saved my company." The words sounded strange coming from her. Not proud, not confident, just honest. I shrugged. "I saved the employees." A faint nod followed. She accepted the answer. Because she knew it was true. Her fingers tightened around a folder, then loosened again. A nervous habit I hadn't seen in years. I found the anniversary gift. The sentence caught me off guard. Victoria stared down at the table. It was still in the cabinet. My throat felt dry. She continued quietly. I opened it. I remembered exactly what was inside. A silver bracelet. Simple. Elegant. The kind she used to like before work became her entire personality. It was beautiful. A painful smile appeared briefly. I never even looked at it. The words hung between us. Heavy. Real. No excuses followed. No defense. Just truth. Victoria stepped closer. Not enough to erase the distance. Just enough to show she wasn't running anymore. I kept blaming work. She laughed once. A bitter sound. I blamed pressure. Deadlines. Expectations. Her eyes finally met mine. The truth was uglier. I remained silent. She deserved the chance to finish. I stopped seeing you. The admission landed harder than any apology. Because it was accurate. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Just accurate. Victoria swallowed. You became part of the background. Every word seemed difficult. Like she was forcing herself to face something she'd avoided for years. I knew you'd be there. Another pause. I stopped appreciating it. My gaze drifted toward the city beyond the glass. Thousands of people moved through the streets below. Most of them had no idea how easy it was to lose something valuable. You treated me like a guarantee. Her eyes closed briefly. Yes. No argument. No denial. Just yes. The honesty surprised me. Victoria wasn't trying to win. She wasn't trying to manipulate. She was finally accepting responsibility. I was lonely too, you know. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Her expression changed instantly. Pain. Real pain. Not because I attacked her. Because she hadn't realized it. All those years. All those dinners. All those conversations interrupted by emails. She genuinely hadn't understood. I know. Her voice cracked slightly. Not enough to sound dramatic. Just enough to sound human. I know now. That was the tragedy. Now. After everything. Now. The timing felt almost cruel. We stood there another minute. Maybe two. Neither of us knew what came next. Eventually, Victoria straightened her shoulders. The CEO returning. But not completely. Something softer remained underneath. Thank you. I nodded once. Then walked toward the door. She didn't stop me. Didn't beg. Didn't chase. That somehow made everything harder. 3 days passed. Work kept me busy. Meetings. Projects. Deadlines. Life. Yet thoughts of Victoria kept returning. Not because I wanted her back. Because unfinished things tend to echo. That night, rain tapped softly against my apartment windows. I was reviewing contracts when the doorbell rang. 10 o'clock. Too late for visitors. I opened the door. The breath left my lungs. Victoria stood there. No designer suit. No executive confidence. No carefully controlled image. Just Victoria. In both hands, she held a framed photograph. Our wedding picture. The same one that had spent years hidden behind awards. Water droplets clung to her coat. Her eyes looked tired. Not from work. From loss. Neither of us spoke immediately. The hallway remained quiet. The photograph trembled slightly in her hands. Then she lifted her eyes toward me. 1,000 emotions sat behind them. Regret. Hope. Fear. Love. The things she buried for too long. Her voice barely rose above the sound of rain. Is there anything left to save? She didn't knock at first. Just stood outside my door like she was afraid the sound would change everything. I already knew she was there before I opened it. Something about the air felt heavier. When I finally opened the door, Victoria was holding a small folder in one hand. In the other, my wedding ring. The same ring I left behind that night. Her fingers were trembling, but she didn't hide it anymore. No mask, no CEO armor, just a woman who had finally run out of ways to pretend. I tried, she said softly. Not loud, not dramatic, just tired. I leaned against the doorframe without letting her inside yet. Try what? Her eyes dropped to the ring. Everything. A pause. I stepped back from work. I fixed things with the board. I even cleared Lucas's mess completely. Her voice broke slightly at the name, then steadied again. I thought if I repaired everything I destroyed outside, it would fix what I destroyed with you. I took the ring from her slowly. It felt lighter than I remembered. Or maybe I was just different now. You didn't destroy me, I said quietly. Her eyes lifted fast. Hope flashed there. For a second. Just a second. Then I finished the sentence. You just stopped seeing me. That hope disappeared. Not with anger. With understanding. Victoria nodded, like she already knew that answer. She had probably known it for a long time. Just refused to accept it. I remember everything now, she whispered. Her grip tightened around the empty folder. The nights you stayed awake fixing problems, I never even noticed. The calls you handled so I could sleep. The way you always made space for me, even when I gave you nothing back. Her breath shook. I thought love meant big things. Success. Building. Winning. She laughed once. Small. Broken. I forgot love also means noticing. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me, but not locking it yet. The hallway was quiet. No past. No noise. Just now. Victoria followed me slowly, like each step cost her something. We didn't go to the apartment anymore. We walked. Just walked. Through streets that used to belong to us. A cafe we once argued in. A bridge we once stood on during late nights. A park where we stopped talking and just held hands because words felt unnecessary back then. Now everything felt different. Not painful. Just finished. We stopped near the river. Wind moved across the water like it was erasing old memories. Victoria stood beside me, but not too close. Like she finally understood distance. I signed everything, she said. I already knew what she meant. Divorce papers. Final closure. No waiting. No delays. I didn't want to send them through lawyers, she added. I wanted you to see them from me. I nodded slowly. The papers meant nothing new. Just confirmation of what already ended long ago. Victoria reached into her coat pocket. Her hand hesitated before pulling something out. My old wedding ring. Cleaned. Polished. Still the same circle that once meant forever. She placed it into my palm. I kept it, she said, even when I shouldn't have. I closed my fingers around it. Not tightly. Not emotionally. Just acknowledging it existed. Behind us, the city kept moving. People passing. Lives continuing. She spoke again, quieter this time. Do you hate me? The question hung between us longer than expected. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I finally said. Her shoulders lowered slightly. Relief. Or maybe acceptance. I don't hate you, I repeated. But I don't wait for you anymore either. That hit her harder than anything else. Because hate still connects people. Indifference doesn't. Victoria looked down at the water. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then she pulled out her phone. Typed something. Paused. Deleted it. Typed again. Then stopped. An unread message, she said suddenly. I glanced at her. I kept writing to you after everything. Every night. Every apology. Every thought. She showed me the screen. Dozens of drafts. None sent. I never pressed send, she admitted. Because I already knew the answer. I didn't ask what the message said. I didn't need to. Some things are not meant to be read. Just felt. A silence passed between us again. Not uncomfortable. Just final. Victoria inhaled slowly. I understand now, she said. Love doesn't survive just because one person finally wakes up. Her eyes met mine one last time. I was late. I nodded once. Not in agreement. In truth. Yes, I said. You were. No anger in my voice. No warmth either. Just truth. Victoria stepped back slowly. Not running. Not leaving in pain. Just accepting the ending she could no longer fight. Take care of yourself, she said. This time, there was no expectation behind it. Only sincerity. You too, I replied. And that was it. No last attempt. No breaking moment. No dramatic collapse. Just two people who finally understood what happened. She turned first. Walked away down the path beside the river. Her figure grew smaller with each step. But she didn't look back. Neither did I. I stayed there a while longer, holding the ring in my palm, thinking about everything it used to mean, and everything it no longer did. Then I threw it into the river. Not with anger, not with revenge, just release. It disappeared into the water without a sound, like it was never meant to stay. Months passed. Life didn't explode. It expanded. Work grew. Projects succeeded. Rachel called less often now, mostly just to check in. Daniel visited sometimes, always bringing food I didn't ask for. Victoria's name stopped appearing in conversations. Until one evening, Rachel mentioned her casually. She stepped down from a board, she said. I looked up from my laptop. She's rebuilding her life differently now. I didn't ask for details, but Rachel added anyway. No Lucas. No shortcuts. No chasing constant growth anymore. A pause. She looks different. Calmer. I nodded once. That was enough. Not curiosity. Not regret. Just closure. Later that night, my phone lit up. Unknown number. A message preview appeared. Thank you for everything you never asked me to notice. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then I didn't open it. I didn't reply. I simply turned the screen off and let it go. Outside, the city moved like it always did. Inside, I finally felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not love. Not pain. Just peace. I once believed losing her would destroy me. In the end, losing her was how I finally found myself.